morning, Scotland. Good morning, social media land. I hope you are well. It is Wednesday, the 19th of February 2025. The independence movement has spent years reacting, challenging Westminster's decisions, countering misleading claims, and responding to every attack on Scotland's right to govern itself. But a nation seeking independence cannot define itself by what it stands against. It must define itself by what it stands for. The question that matters now is no longer whether Scotland can be independent. That has been answered. Scotland has the wealth, Scotland has the resources, and Scotland has the institutions to thrive as an independent nation. The real challenge is making Scots believe this to be true. Westminster has spent generations convincing Scotland that it is weak, that it is dependent, that it cannot survive alone. And some Scots have absorbed that message. Even those who support independence sometimes still fear the unknown. But the reality is, the biggest risk is staying where we are. In 2014, Scots were told that voting no was the safe option. That decision has led to more uncertainty, more instability, and more direct attacks on Scotland's ability to govern itself. The UK economy is weaker than it was a decade ago. Westminster's political system is in chaos. The very foundation of democracy is being eroded as Westminster shuts down the rights of the devolved nations. The world Scots were promised in 2014 no longer exists. If Scotland is going to plan its future based on stability, the safest choice is to leave. Westminster is not a stable government. Since 2014, Prime Minister after Prime Minister has been forced from office. The UK has cut itself off from the world's largest trading bloc, devastating businesses and industries that relied on European markets. Economic growth has stalled, wages have stagnated, public services have collapsed under years of mismanagement, and yet Scots have been forced to endure decisions they have never voted for. Locked into a system where the votes for English swing constituencies decides whoever governs Scotland. The argument that Scotland has any real say in the Union is an illusion. The system is designed to work against us. Every year, Scotland's resources are extracted and sent south. Scotland generates more energy than it consumes, yet Scots pay some of the highest electricity bills in the whole of Europe. Now Westminster is building superconductor cables down the east coast of Scotland, and these cables will allow Scottish renewable energy to be sent directly to England. This is not an investment. This is not a partnership. This is control. The same pattern repeats across Scotland's industries. When the Grangemouth refinery shuts down later this year, Scotland will lose its only oil refining capacity. And even though Scotland is an energy-rich nation, producing over 90% of the oil in the seas around these islands, it must now rely on imported fuel from England. Westminster does not simply want Scotland in the Union, it wants Scotland in a position where it cannot function outside of it. The independence movement must stop viewing Westminster as a political opponent and start seeing it for what it really is, a system that survives by making Scotland believe it is weak. For the past decade, the biggest mistake that's been allowed by Westminster is to control the narrative. This must end. Scotland is not a burden. Scotland is not an economic drain. Scotland is not dependent on Westminster. That lie has been carefully constructed and it must be shattered. One of the most damaging myths is the idea that Scotland has a massive public spending deficit. Westminster claims that Scotland operates at a £22 billion deficit, but that number does not hold up under scrutiny. Westminster spends £265 billion every year on non-governmental bodies known as quangos. These organisations are classified as public spending and included in Scotland's financial figures on the JERS report, even though many of them operate solely for the benefit of England. Scotland already pays for its own non-governmental public services, its own quangos, like the National Galleries, Historic Scotland, things like that. Yet at the same time, Scotland is charged for services that only benefit Westminster, Whitehall and England. And the numbers will expose the truth. Scotland's share of that £265 billion spent on English quangos is 8.1%. Now, if you calculate what that percentage is, we are effectively being charged £21.5 billion worth of services we do not use. That number is strikingly close to the so-called deficit that Westminster and many unionist Scots like to bash Scotland with. The reality is clear. Scotland is not running a deficit. Scotland is being billed for services it does not receive. Independence would not create an economic shortfall. It would end an economic scam. An independent Scotland would control its own wealth, and instead of sending resources south and receiving a fraction of their value in return, we could invest them at home. Instead of playing into a UK-wide system that prioritises London, we could create an economy that actually benefits people who live here instead of being tied to a country that actively undermines our industries. We could build a strategy that allows Scotland to thrive. The potential is there. The only thing missing is the will to take it. Scotland's future must not be decided by political parties or party leaders. It must be decided by the people who live here. Westminster relies on division to maintain control. It wants Scots fighting Scots, arguing over the SNP and Alapa or the Greens, while the Union remains intact. But the fight for independence is not about political parties. It's about the right to decide, the right to govern, and the right to build a country that works for the people of Scotland. The reality is, Scotland has never been too weak to be independent. It's simply been told that lie so often that some people have started to believe it. Westminster's biggest fear is a Scotland that knows its worth. That is why it distorts economic figures. That is why it suppresses democracy. That is why it gaslights an entire nation into thinking it cannot function alone. But illusions do not last forever. The truth is clear. Scotland is not weak. It does not have a deficit, and Scotland is not dependent. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence right now. And the only thing that is stopping us is your decision to make it happen.
They draw the lines, they call the shots. Take what's ours and leave us not. But we see through their tired game. Scotland's rising won't be tamed. Scotland is ready! Scotland is ready for independence. No more waiting, no more chains. We'll stand together, break the race. Scotland is ready! Scotland is ready for independence, for independence. They say we're small, they say we're weak, but listen close. When Scotland speaks, our wealth is strong, our hearts are true. We know exactly what to do. listen close when Scotland speaks. Our wealth is strong, our hearts are true. We know exactly what to do.